Hey, here's your Class 2 Steve roll recap. The first thing that we played with was executing these neck wraps because that's the middle of our Steve roll, right? So a practice for you guys would be to hold your arms out and have the staff off center, right? Holding it right next to center point and just giving it this little preliminary horizontal launch before we take this hand to the neck. It's attached to the neck, right? And just to make sure, I can actually kind of twist my hand a little bit and really make sure that I get the staff around to the other side so that I get that nice clean neck wrap. With both hands, letting it go, and then this hand, the opposite hand, is right there ready to grab onto the staff on top. So we're always wrapping with one hand and crossing our body and picking up with the opposite hand. We do these neck wraps. So horizontal neck wrap. You can shift your neck forward a little bit if you need to. All right. Check in and make sure that this is horizontal. A lot of people kind of tend to do that, right? Get a little lazy. That's what's causing sometimes the staff to roll down the shoulder. So make sure you're checking in. Am I holding it off center? I can see the center point. Am I launching this nice and horizontally as if I'm chest deep in water and I don't want the staff to touch the water? And I've got my hand right there so that I can really almost place the center point on the other side of my neck. We did those vertically as well, and what that looked like from the side at least, so you can see that I'm not sticking my whole body down, right? I'm still trying to maintain some integrity in my posture, and I'm looking down at the ground, and I start with my arm out again, off center. I bring my hand to my neck. I wrap the center point over the back of my neck, and my other hand is right here to pick it up. And I bring it down, and I do it on the other side. Right? Go back and forth. Once it lands in that other hand, in this case my left hand, I'm going to bring my left hand to the side and launch it from the left, and then from the right. A way we can drill that is by moving across the floor like we did with a couple of other moves. So what we did in class was, right now I have the staff in my left hand, I'm doing that horizontal neck wrap with the left, I pick up with the right, I extend back out, and then I'll let the staff just take me 180 degrees. You see that the staff has not changed position or orientation. It's actually in the same place that it was before I turned, right? Now I can do that vertical neck wrap. And just like in our conveyor belts, I draw this big circle. This brings me around 180 degrees. And I practice that neck wrap. All right, horizontal and vertical. And then on the way back, you can practice horizontal with the other hand, vertical with the other hand, to make sure that you get a good even practice with both hands, both directions, for your vertical and horizontal neck wraps. Next, for our Steve rolls, we place the staff above our head with the center point right next to our pinky. I can see the inside of my wrist right now, right? Now from here, I have my arm at a nice little curve. It's not straight, and it's not bent. And it's not lower than my head because it's going to hit my head. I actually need the staff to wrap around my wrist and then get in between my arm and my head. So there is a full turn there in the staff before it reaches your arm. And my arm at a curve. Notice that my arm does not move. I do not drift my arm to the side. I do not straighten my arm out and bring it back. These are things that I think very commonly happen because our instinct is telling us to protect the staff and soften the blow of the staff as it comes down. But we really have to trust in, and you can have your other hand here just in case, just to practice this first part. Letting go and keeping the arm there until it comes down. And you can see my center point's just right about here. It should be right about here if it wants to travel nice and smooth over the back of my neck. Check out the arm. There, perfect, right? And then around the back of the neck. Then we drop the arm. So wait as long as you can before really dropping that arm. And then we drop, and it should pass pretty evenly around the back of the neck. You can see that I'm also kind of giving a little bit of space in the back. You can do that as well. Some people find that helpful. Some people also find it helpful to turn with the staff in the same direction of the staff, so that's something that you can do. But that's our first half into our neck wrap. The first half of our Steve, down the arm, center point is riding outside the arm, right? Make sure that that center point is along the outside of the arm so it gets around the back of the neck. What commonly happens too is if you let go too late, the center point ends up on the inside of your arm and this happens, right? It's not going to go anywhere when the center point's there. So it may be a matter of letting go a little earlier than you've been letting go to make sure the center point's behind you. And you can also experiment with holding on to the center point. Some people have a different success rate with that. So there's a couple things that are going to be different for you. Explore that. After the neck wrap, this shoulder on the second side has to stay down and curved because the staff is moving in a circle, right? It's moving in a rotation. We have to keep our arm curved. Once it gets right about to our elbow, we can start to lift our arm, and the staff wraps right along the pinky side of the hand and into the hand. So to see that again, curved arm, right into the hand. I keep my hand curved, I keep my arm curved, and I keep my hand kind of like right here, where like the midline of my body would be, right? I don't want it to be out here because eventually we want to be passing these continuously. So what's helpful is if I have it in front of me the entire time. Both arms are in front. To just isolate that second half of the Steve roll, you can also throw it from a neck wrap, which we practiced. Just make sure that you're getting the center point all the way to the other side, in between your neck and your shoulder, not behind, and then dropping that shoulder, keeping it curved, and then at the very end of that roll, you can raise that arm up. Again, observe how I have my arm in front of my body, right? It stays in front, just like on the first side. The arm stays in front. Arm stays in front. Once you feel pretty competent with your Steve rolls, you can start to pass them continuously. So once the Steve gets to the front of your body on the second side, instead of just passing into your hand right here, we can actually let the staff center, roll off the tops of our fingers to meet the other fingers. Now the staff isn't doing an extra rotation, it's literally just rolling off in the same direction onto the other hand, okay? And the way you can even practice that is just playing with and guiding it with the other hand. Ooh, a little roll down the arm, meet the other hand right there, right? And then you just pass it off. And maybe that's another way you can play with it too. Just this, right? Da, da, da. That would be like a minimal transfer. So what that would look like, up above my head, right? It happens a little high. I need that transfer to happen high so that the staff can rotate over my head. Another transition is the prayer transition. And what that looks like is we have our Steve roll, our hands join together in order to transfer the staff to the next hand. A way to drill that is by placing the staff, the center point, just behind the wrist right here. I have my hand nice and flexed, and I'm using this hand just to help stabilize the staff as I start to bring it up because the center point's behind me, right? So I need to kind of grab it right here. Flexed hand, I have it down by my hip, and I'm going to scoop my hand up and above my head, and my eyes follow my wrist, right? I look at my wrist and I turn my hands back. My hand is pointing back behind me, and I bring my other hand up to meet it in a prayer position. So I look like that, right? And I'm looking at my wrists. That's the part of the move where the staff transfers to the next hand, right there, right? This is even a balance right here. You can play with just this balance of having the center point on your wrists right there, above your head. And then if you have some momentum, it will easily come down with your hand as it scoops down. If you're trying to do it from still, from no movement, it's going to be difficult. So turning your body around in a circle will give a little bit of velocity to the staff, which helps it kind of naturally want to come down. That's why I'm launching this, right? I give it some motion. It wants to turn, and then it comes down. So this is a way to just isolate that transition and practice that prayer transition. Yeah? We touched briefly on the front side of the steve, which makes it a full steve, because oftentimes when we're learning the steve, we focus on this back section and not this part, right? But that makes it a full steve because it comes around the front. What happens is after we've got that second half of the steve down and the center point, instead of wrapping into our hand, we're going to let it wrap over the pinky side, but we're going to start to turn our palm to look at our face. And the staff is going to pass right into the hand and start to roll down this inside part of your arm. So when your arm is up, the end of the steve, once it gets to the hand, you start to turn your hand in and look at your hand. Yeah? Center point outside, look in, and something I tend to do is I drag my arm in because I need to pass the center point off to my second side to finish it off. If not, I'm just going to have the center point over here, right? And I'm not going to get it over to this side. So something you'll see is, ooh, I drag it over, and both arms meet there, meet in the center there, yeah? So that's another thing you could just practice is just the front side. Holding onto the staff. I can see the outside of my wrist. I'm going to turn it so I can see the inside of my wrist. Letting go, dragging your arm to the center until the staff reaches your other arm, and then starting to drag your second arm out to the side and up so it pops into your hand. We talked about it too, that it's pretty much like stalls right here, the staff, right? It stops, and then it starts to roll down the second arm. There's no rotation that happens here. That's a whole other move. It's a little bit more simplified than that. Oh, it stops, and then it just rolls down the other side. We didn't get to a few variations I had wanted to get to, but I had talked about doing the dragon steve, which instead of having the staff get between your neck and your shoulder on this front side, actually glue my arm to my ear right here, and I start to initiate the staff roll. Once it gets to my elbow, it pretty much travels from my arm to the other side of my neck without going in between my neck and my shoulder there. See what that looks like? Glue here. Ooh, yeah. And you want to be careful with the hair. I tend to get it caught in my hair quite a bit in that move. Just make sure your arm is stuck here and the staff cannot do any kind of rotating between here. And then it finishes like a normal steve roll. Be sure to practice these in both directions, like always. Enjoy, have a great weekend, happy practicing. Let me know if you have any questions, you need any help with anything. And remember your homework to choreograph 4 counts of anything that you took away from this steve roll class so that we can present it next Thursday.